Now it's time for tips and tricks. Let's start the slideshow. Okay, obviously, I'm Dyamics. We've seen that previously. So today we're going to talk about, for tips and tricks, smart list options. We're going to talk about suppressing the last username from the login window. Actually, we're going to do a couple of Excel tips, something a little different, and then we're going to go into Management Reporter and talk about 2 ways to find missing accounts in our reports. So, without further ado, I am going to hop over into GP here. So, Smart List Options. I'm going to the Administration page in GP. And here, under Setup, I'm going to Smart List Options. So, what are Smart List Options? Here's where we can set up defaults for our Smart List reports in GP. For example, I can set the maximum records. So you know how some of your Smart Lists default, obviously, well, all of them default to 1,000 records. If you guys have been using GP for a while, you may need to increase that. You can increase it here versus going in and increasing it to every report. It's just one of the options that you have. You can also, for the different categories of reports, you can select what the default columns are that show up in these reports, and you can also select the default go-to button so that when you drill back on lines in your Smart List, where do you want to go? So you can actually change that here. Who knew?
Not me.
You do now.
I did. That's annoying as hell, having to change it to, because 1,000 records is useless to me.
Well, for those of you guys that have been using the system for many years, yeah, everything maxes out at 1,000. You're beyond that now. So come here. Go to the Administration page and make your life easier. That's why you come to these meetings.
I tell you what, here we go.
So that you find these things out. So we're not hiding things.
One thing to point out about that, that's for all users, right?
Yes, that is for all users. So it's not on a user-by-user basis. You're right. You're not going in and having to modify, individual reports. You can set up defaults globally here. Yep. So Administration area page.
Is there an easy way to change the drill down on a specific Smart List?
So there is. So if we go here, for example, let's say I want to change payables transactions. Right now it's going to the view, but here you can change it. I mean, you have a limited list of what you can change the default go-to, but you can change it here. In the Smart List itself, so if I go over to Smart List, and I just open something. So from here, so what I'm talking about by the go-to is if I double click, it takes me back to another window. So this is the default that you can change and set up. So over here on the side, you notice there's also a go-to button, so you can change it over on the side if you're in the report itself.
Good again, Diane. So what she's saying is, if you don't want to go to the default go-to, you can go over there and go to any other default, any other go-tos.
Yeah. So you can, if you don't want to set it up under the smart list option, you can open a report and actually change the go-to here as well.
Will that then change it from there on out for that particular smart list?
I think it's just this time. It doesn't like save that change. So this is like a one-time go-to change. Changing it at the smart list options level changes it permanently. So the next thing I want to talk about is the last username login. And this was actually Bill's suggestion because back when he was an end user, his group would log in to GP via terminal server. And so when you're in a shared or multi-user environment and you open GP, it always shows you a last user that logged into GP. So there's a way we can change that. Now, this is one of those tips that we don't suggest you try at home. We do suggest that maybe IT gets involved for this one. So this isn't everybody run out and go try to change this. But basically, somewhere in your system, and I'm not going to tell you where, so you can't go change it, there is this DEX INI setting. And basically, it's somewhere on your C drive. So on the terminal server, it would be on the C drive. But IT, I'm telling you, should get involved. Anyhow, this, which you open it in a text file, affects your login to GP. So there's different things that happen or don't happen here. And so basically, if you want to IT or us can, if we type in here in the text, so all we do is type in, and obviously I have my caps lock on, so you'll change that. We type in this one little sign or command right here, and next time you guys go to log in on a terminal server, you won't see that last user. It'll be blank. So some people find that annoying. Bill did. Some of you, others
Well,
may.
it causes problems because people just mindlessly type their password.
Right.
And then they call you and say,
Yeah.
I can't log in. My password's no good.
Right.
And 30 minutes later, you find out they were using the wrong username.
Yeah. That is true.
There's a reason for everything.
There is a reason for everything.
And on Windows 7, most people won't be able to modify that themselves.
Well, that's a good point,
They
too.
won't have rights.
So they'll be saved from. But like I said, that's not a try it at home kind of thing. We don't want everybody running. So I wanted to talk for a couple of minutes about some shortcuts in Excel. I know as accountants, as most of us are, not all of us in this room, but most, we spend a fair amount of time in Excel. So I've noticed I use, parts of Excel. Maybe you guys obviously use other parts. So I thought I'd share some of what I use. First thing, and this is one of my favorite things, and comes in handy for us a lot, is the subtotal feature. So does anybody use this subtotal feature?
I have.
Some do. Good.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So basically, the subtotal feature allows me to take a list. I have a customer list here, and I'm going to subtotal. And so it just lets me subtotal so I can get like a customer total, basically. So at each change in the customer number, I want to sum my sales account. And so if I click OK, there you go, it's subtotal. So I can click on the and everything rolls up. Now I have a subtotal for Aaron and one for Adam Park. So I tend to use this a lot. There's also a couple of other things you can do though, and I just happened across these, and I thought these were kind of cool. Maybe you guys know about them, maybe not, I don't know. So anyhow, some almost like keyboard shortcuts here in Excel. So for example, if I want to type in an equal sign and then the name of a function, like average, then I can click Control A, try that again.
Oh, there you go.
There. And it quickly opens the range box for my average. So that's just one little shortcut. So you can also type in, and this time I'm going to hold Control, Shift, and A, and this shows you the syntax. So if you ever are using a function and you don't know what the syntax should be, you can click those and it'll show you right away.
Control Shift A.
Control Shift A. And this one is probably my favorite. If I click on Alt and the equal sign, it automatically brings up the sum function. So that was very handy.
Oh, so you can highlight a range.
Yeah, so then you can
And
just
then
highlight a range and
control, what was it?
Exactly.
Control what?
equal.
That was Alt and then the equal sign.
Nice.
So again, we don't typically talk a lot about Excel, but all of us use it, so I figure why not share some knowledge. So lastly, we are going to talk about Management Reporter. And so I am actually going to log in. To our training server back at the office. So missing accounts in Management Reporter and or, well, FRX is a little bit different in how you find them. So one of the struggles or pain points with Management Reporter is that as you add new accounts to GT, they don't automatically get added to Management Reporter. So to alleviate some of that, we're going to look at two ways to kind of help find or quickly identify missing accounts. So the first one is on an income statement. So obviously, if you're running a balance sheet and you're missing an account on a balance sheet, your assets and your liabilities are not going to be equal. So that's a clue there. But on the P&L, you kind of have no idea unless you're, running a report matching it to something. So one of the things we always like to recommend is to add this check row down at the bottom of your report. And so what this check row does is, you notice this first line is adding or taking into account, it's my full P&L range. It's my first P&L account, $41,000, my first sales account, all the way down through $99.99. So that's going to include all of my P&L accounts. Even if I add in account 8,000 later, it's going to be included in that range. So it will always include all of your accounts. So you add that. Mine's marked to not print because I don't want that to show up on my report each time. And then down below it, I am adding my P&L net income plus the check row. This line right here will only populate or show on the report if I'm missing an account if my P&L does not include every account in that range. So it's a quick way to ensure that your P&L account is never missing any accounts, because that could be really bad. People get mad about things like that.
What do you?
I don't know why.
Why does it only print if you're missing an account? What triggers it? You have it not to print.
No, this line never prints.
Okay,
This line will never print, but this line will show if there's an amount in there. Because my report is set to only show,
non-zeros or?
it only shows accounts with amounts. So if there's nothing here, it won't print.
I see.
So I'm gonna print
What are
this.
you adding?
I'm adding my net income line,
Okay.
Which is a
940,
positive number,
I
plus,
see.
which is a positive number, is the way the formula is the same.
yep, plus my check row. So I'm adding net income plus my check row
Oh.
Which is
to
a
get
negative
this difference.
And the correct answer to that formula is zero, right?
The correct answer to that formula should be 0, yes.
Okay, I'm not an
So,
accountant.
I'm
I'm just a bored
Good
dumb
job.
IT guy.
So, let's see how my sample report here measures up.
That's a great idea.
Oh, look, I'm out of balance, I have something wrong. So, obviously, I have some work to do here. But this is what shows up. So,
Okay.
if this check row was 0, then you wouldn't see that, it just would be invisible to you. So, it will populate when there is an account missing. So again, it's a quick way to ensure
It
that your
doesn't really tell you
report.
what account is missing, it just tells you that's how.
Correct, it doesn't tell you
So
what
if there's
account's
40
missing.
accounts that equal that balance, you still got a lot of work to do.
You still got a lot of work to do.
But at least you know what you're looking for.
But at least, yeah.
Yeah.
So, good question, or good comment there. So, the other thing,
That would probably be that you added a whole new department or something, you'd
Right.
probably trigger if you're off $1 million that, oh yeah, I did
I
that.
was gonna say it's worse when they're just missing one account.
so here's something that I do. So, if my check row does show up, what I do is, and this is just me for my purposes, I change this to printing, and then I set so I can drill onto that line, and then hopefully the amount I'm off shows up in that list. So here, I'll do that right now. So I'll leave that as now it will print. And so now if I generate the report, so now when I generate the report, I have a line, and I can double click on it, and it gives me all of the accounts that make up that range. So I can quickly glance or go through that list. Hopefully that one amount is there by itself, and I don't have to add up multiple. Fingers crossed, but, so that's kind of how I troubleshoot things. That's one of the tools I use. So the other thing that Management Reporter has is up under Tools. There is this missing account analysis. And so if you run this, you can run it for, you notice all my companies here, so I'm just gonna, okay. Doesn't like my credentials. But basically what this tool does is it will go through,
Check, use separate credentials. Up, right there. And just select the middle one, right?
perfect.
There you go.
some reason. But this will go through all of your reports and your companies. And so on the P&L report, for example, it's going to take the first account that's on your P&L and the last account on your P&L, and it's going to match that to what's in GP. And if there's an account within that range in GP that's not on your management reporter report, it's going to show up here. So it will identify missing accounts within that account range. The only time this won't work is if you add an account that's outside, you know, like you add a new sales account that is before the first account in your P&L or an expense account after the last account. But this tool works well, so it's another way for you guys to find missing information in your management reporter report.
It'll only show you accounts for balance.
I think it shows you everything. Yeah, I don't think it looks whether it has balance or not. I think it'll just, if it's missing, you know, so then you can go in and go, oh, well, that's inactive, or, you know, that I'm not using that account or whatever.
And as long as the account is in the range, whether it has the correct type on it or not, it'll show it to you.
Yeah.
And will that work with your check row? Because you are selecting all of those.
That's a good point. So you're right, if you have the check row on, it's going to show, well, that would show up in the duplications, but you're right, it will force that. So you may want to run this, like take the check row off, run it. Yeah, that's a good point.
Also, the check row would make it.
The check row would show it, oh yeah, everything's on there.
Gotcha.
But it
Yeah.
shows duplications as well.
There's another tool for the duplications. So the duplications are actually,
I mean, that would be good if you're all the other way.
yeah.
Too much of
There is a different thing for duplications. I forget where it is at the moment. But I can find it and send it to you. So if you guys haven't filled out your evaluations yet and you want that, put that at the bottom of the evaluation so we know to email that out to you guys. Also, if you want any, you know, PowerPoint slides or any information, make sure you note that at the bottom of your evals. I'm doing your work now, Mike.
Absolutely. And if you already turned in your survey, just send
Mike
myself
an
or
email.
Jennifer Epsilon an email. They want all the presentations, PowerPoint. No problem.
So, any questions?
Questions?
No? No?
What's his email, Michael?
Mike Ramatowski.
M.Ramatowski at TurnkeyTech.com.
You should have it.
You should have it.
You should have hundreds of emails from him.
Mike, family our client.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to say
Okay.
it.
Useful information. While we wait for Sean Hunter to get up here for the 5th time today.
Yes.
Just show of hands real quick. How many of you guys have followed us on LinkedIn or Facebook?
I follow somebody else, like Chris, I think.
LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. There's a lot of great information out there. And then how many are just our newsletters?
I get that.
Okay. Or Dynamics University Magazine.
I get that.
We also have it on our website too, so don't forget a copy. We send out one copy to each client, just name the company, primary contact. So if you want to see more information, go to the website. It's there as well. Now, Sean Hunter, you up? Ready?
Yep, real quick. I just wanted to make sure that we cover the updates that came out with GP 2013. But you're going to see me take a real quick change here. In 4 minutes.
Pretty good.
All right. So got a just a few slides to cover real quickly as we work through it. I just wanted to make sure that I touched on some of the highlights out there.
Hey, Sean, take your time, man. We got time.
I understand.
These are important. These are really good. Good tips. The GP 2013 was released too. Really good.
So I just wanted to kind of breeze through some of the top 8, at least that I found at the moment, things that I can speak of in the time frame that was out there and everything. But be aware, if you go out and you hit Google and type in GP 2013 R2 feature of the day, you're going to find lots of information out there that goes into good explanations of these, screenshots, PowerPoint, things of that sort. So first one, workflow. GP 2013 R2 adds workflow to GP without having to have SharePoint. So it puts it all into the system, which means that you can start doing approval and submissions and things like that through GP. The first run, I made sure I listed those again. If you guys were here at the last user group, I listed those there too. But purchase orders, time to send them stuff, purchasing requisitions, which is now part of it. So they've got a small amount of the workflow elements out there for the system right at the moment, and then end of the year with the next release of GP, that's when you get the full amount of everything out there at once. Next one, scan documents in document attached. So if you've been at GP 2013, you've seen the attached documents, or you're not aware of it, there's a little paper clip now that shows up on everything, the more OLE containers where you can attach all sorts of documents. They added a functionality now, though, that if you have a scanner hooked up to your machine, you can throw a document into the scanner, link it up to here, and attach that document directly from the scanner versus scan, save to a file, throw it in a directory, then go in and link it. It's got that link directly between. Purchasing requisitions, huge addition to the system. Thank goodness they've got it out there. I love it because there's so many different little workflow aspects that I can throw into it, and, new concepts and stuff like that are available. Of course, it was always out there on Business Portal, but the amount of users adopting Business Portal versus now it's just included in GP, it's going to be, so much more different out there. Benefit of requisitions is that light users, limited users, the people that don't cost a ton of money to get in and look at information in the system can use this document transaction type. So they can get in and enter requisitions into the system being a limited user, GP 2013. I think one of my favorite things of this is just from a purchasing concept standpoint is the ability to have a user get in and create a purchasing requisition where it's got 50 line items on it, and each line can have a different benefit. That's what you can do with it there from a strategy of purchasing. Next one, GP Web Client. Chris wanted me to make sure that I showed this to you because this is a huge push that that Microsoft is making for Dyamics at this point, is making a desktop client, web client as closely resemble one another so that you can have either experience that you look for. So left-hand side, what you see, what you live and breathe right now. Right-hand side, that is GP and Internet Explorer. So it is fully functional. It is
not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty much the exact same thing, just pulling it up in a browser. So from a standpoint of hardware requirements and things of that sort, it's a thin client. You don't have to have processing power on your machine to run them. At least not as much as it does. Make sure I throw that caveat.
This is my favorite.
Yes, I knew Dyamics was going to love this. And I wanted to throw this in because another individual we were telling about stuff. Oh my God. So copy and paste information into a journal entry. So anybody who's a financial person loves this side of it. Now you can create your information in an Excel spreadsheet with the following column order. Have to stick to that. Fill out the column order, select your column, pull open the journal entry, hit the paste up here, read out, and it fills out the columns for you automatically. So no more having to type it in or anything like that. And that spreadsheet can be massive. It can contain all sorts of adjustments.
Is there Excel upload functionality?
It would be create your Excel spreadsheet, select all the columns, copy, up GP, paste, and stuff.
That's great.
Is there a limited amount of lines?
Because you can save it, right? You can save those massive recurring journal entries. You can save them to your local hard drive.
Correct, yeah, there is no, so you would come in here, you would start your journal entry, you know, get your header information filled out, click in that line, copy, paste, and it throws it in.
You're not able to fill out the header information within Excel, just the
Correct, it's just the detail.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Recurring entry,
you need integration, right, for that.
I mean, can't you have entries where that's already filled out?
You could, yeah, you could have a, it's not gonna necessarily replace the reoccurring monthly journal entries that you would have out there or something, but the idea of being able to pull this up and key into Excel versus keying into GP, just that preference out there.
Yeah, so it's different. For people that don't have integration manager and couldn't upload via that, you know, now everybody has this, so.
Yep.
What's easier, integration?
Is there a link? It sure is.
Yeah, it's
Yep. This is
very user friendly.
Is there a limit to the number of lines?
I have not ran into a limit yet. I also haven't pushed the boundaries for 1 million. So once you find out about that, just let me know. But no, I've thrown in. I took one of those one time and I just copied down to like 1,000, threw it in there. It ran.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Sean, does the entry that you're putting in have to be blank? No transaction lines, or if it has
Correct.
lines,
It needs to be blank to be able to do the copy. And once you do the paste the first time, that grays out. So you can't run it and then go back and run it again and keep adding